Welcome to Crosstalk. This month, we've dedicated our weekly episodes to look at ethical leadership. As Kenyans, we live under the weight of corruption. For decades, we have been struggling with eradicating corruption. Behind every act of corruption is not just a broken system. It is a broken ethic, a broken commitment to good governance and accountability. And today we look at corruption and governance. And joining me in studio is the perfect guest for this conversation. She's a senior research fellow and associate director at the Leadership and Governance Institute, International Leadership University. She also serves as the chairperson of the Ameru Professional Association, a leading voice in governance and integrity. She has championed democracy, human rights, and anti-corruption reforms for over 2 decades. She was instrumental in establishing the National Integrity Academy. Yes, you got that right. The very first anti-corruption academy in Eastern Africa. And previously, she led the secretariat of the Kenya Leadership Integrity Forum. Her work has shaped national integrity programs, including the Public Service Integrity Program, and she also collaborated with UNDP on governance initiatives. She was recognized in 2018 as the Most Influential Woman in Africa Award. And last year, she was awarded Your Excellency Award in Education. She continues to advocate for accountability, ethical leadership, and sustainability and suitable governance. Who is a perfect person to talk about corruption and governance, if not Dr. Purity Gitonga? A rich history in terms of what, and profile, in terms of what you stand for, in terms of accountability and governance issues. And if you look at our country, as we speak about good governance, corruption, integrity, ethical leadership, what comes into your mind?
Thank you. Let me first appreciate you inviting me to your studio today to speak about matters ethics, integrity, and anti-corruption. As you've asked, going by the recent results and reports by Transparency International 2025, it shows that Kenya is not yet performing very well in matters ethics, integrity, and corruption. The fact that we are ranked as a country position 121 out of 180, as much as it's an improvement, also speaks to the fact that we are still not doing well. In terms of score, we are scored 32 out of 100. And I keep on asking, if your child comes with a report from home with 32%, what would you feel as a parent? So I would say 32% for Kenya, we are not yet there. And the report continues to indicate that we are below the regional score. The regional score is 33%, and very few African countries, unfortunately, above the 33%, and Kenya is one of them. So an indication that our performance, going by Transparency International ranking, CPI, that is Corruption Perception Index, we are not doing very well.
What would you say is the root cause?
I wouldn't say there's one root cause, but if I'm to go by the EACC report, for the first time, it's been said greed is to blame. Greed for money, greed for wealth, greed for material things is to blame. And in my understanding, greed is where somebody is never satisfied with what they have. They want more and more and more, and in the wrong way. So going by that report, greed is to blame. There's what we call the psychology of corruption, which looks at what makes somebody want to engage in corruption while they know it is wrong. And one theory indicates that the way we are socialized can be a factor. If in your family you grew up knowing that corruption is accepted or accommodated, then you never take it to be something wrong. So we need to look at how we socialize our children and the values that we inculcate at home, if we speak against corruption, or if we role model or we model bad behavior as far as corruption is concerned. So that can be another reason for corruption.
We've seen the president, and you've mentioned it, that the president has spoken about it, and in two places recently he's spoken about corruption very strongly. During the Revolution Conference, he mentioned it. Just the other day, he also mentioned about the Senate. So it looks like this is entrenched in institutions that are supposed to oversight.
To me, it's courageous to say that there's a problem and accept there's a problem and be able to identify where part of the problem is. So if I may recall last night's news, I saw and heard that the president saying that he will not tolerate corruption in parliament specifically, and the fact that some members could be receiving bribes in order to either block certain bills. That's unfortunate. But the fact that he alluded to that, to me, that's a beginning of solving the problem. We normally say that when you accept that you have a problem or there is a problem somewhere, you begin to look for solutions.
You are not seeing this as a political statement any politician can make. We are going to fight. We are not just going to shame them, but also to arrest them and prosecute.
I hope that that's the case, but I'm starting with step number one is to accept that there's a problem. Then it's after accepting that you put mechanisms and strategies in place on how to address that issue. Before we rush into punishment, we have to ask, what is the nature of this problem? Why is it taking place? What are the loopholes that are allowing? Who is behind the giving? Because corruption is a two-way traffic. There's a receiver and there's a giver. So who is this that is giving the bribe? And where are they sourcing their money from? So that is also another issue to be addressed, so that it's not just, we would not look at the parliamentarians alone or the committees, the specific committees, but we ask, who is this hand that is giving? Where are they getting that money from?
If you look at the report by the EACC, it shows for you to receive government appointments or services, then you have to pay for it.
And that's where good governance comes in. And that's where education comes in. Because I believe part of the reason you asked initially, what is the root cause? To some extent, ignorance can be a cause. That citizens, as a citizen, I need to know that it's not all services that are paid for. There are services that are provided freely by the government. But there are Kenyans who go prepared every time they are seeking a government service in a government office. They have something in the pocket to pay or to give to somebody. So my take in this matter is that the public ought to know what services are paid for and what services are not paid for. So that's why education and prevention comes in, by creating awareness. Secondly, is also them taking responsibility and knowing that they have a responsibility to prevent corruption instead of complaining about it. Let them not be quick to give or to bribe anybody, because that's tempting somebody, and it could be tempting somebody who is in need.
Chapter 6 of our Constitution speaks clearly about leadership and integrity.
Indeed.
How comes we've gone to put mechanisms around preventive, but still thrive in corruption?
At one time, I wrote an article about efforts that have been put in place in the fight against corruption. So I would urge Kenyans to begin to look at the positive things that are being done. And I'm not saying this for political reasons. I'm acknowledging the effort that has been put. Even having that chapter 6 in the Constitution, there's also Article 10, which speaks about the values, national values, and principles of governance. So if Kenyans become aware of those values and principles and become aware of the provisions of Chapter 6 of the Constitution on leadership and integrity, and we begin to practice. Because they start reading for purposes of interview, but there's also beginning to practice at whatever office we occupy, and even those who are not in government offices, even in private sector, appreciate that we need to act with integrity and uphold those values and principles that the Constitution speaks about.
Okay, all right. You are instrumental in establishing the National Integrity Academy.
Yes.
Was this birthed from understanding of how corrupt we are as a society, or as a preventive measure?
It's, I would say both.
All that thought. We
Yes.
take a break. When you come back, you answer that question.
Okay, thank you.
This is Crosstalk. We'll be taking a short break. You can be part of this conversation through our SMS line 20316. Our WhatsApp line is 0786 316 316. See you after this.
We are living in a lost and broken world, constantly bombarded by messages of hate and atrocities. But with God, we can overcome. Find hope and restoration on the go through life-changing shows on the Family Media app.
And then you will lose yourself and gain the world. And Jesus said, what good is it?
Get to stream Family TV and Family Radio 316 straight from your phone. Catch up on a show you missed or create video streaming playlists by saving and watching videos from our huge variety of shows at your own convenience. Download the Family Media app, available for all Android and iOS users on the Google Play Store and Apple Store respectively. Family Media, keeping Jesus on the airwaves.
Welcome back to Crosstalk. We are looking at corruption and governance, and today we are joined by Dr. Purity Gitonga, who is a Senior Research Fellow and Associate Director at the Leadership and Governance Institute at the International Leadership University. She has served as a chairperson of the Ameru Professional Association. She is a leading voice in issues of integrity, ethical leadership, and governance. And before the break, Dr. we were just asking, for a nation to think of creating and establishing a National Integrity Academy, does this come from a backdrop of how corrupt morally we are as a nation, or it is a preventive measure to understanding that we have corruption to deal with?
Okay, thank you for that question. I would say that the establishment of the National Integrity Academy, of which I worked on when I was with EACC, it was in line with the mandate of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. The commission had specific mandate. One of them, of course, that people commonly know is investigation and asset recovery. Then there's the prevention of corruption that deals with the systems. You examine systems and advise. And then there's what we call public education. Public education reaches out to the general public, reaches out to the public service, reaches out to the private sector, and to the CSOs, that is the civil society organizations. So no one is left behind. So that's a very heavy mandate of the commission to educate the public and create awareness. Now, there is the creation of awareness that can be done like we are here today, speaking it through the radio, the TV stations, and the media. There's also deliberate education and training. And therefore, the National Integrity Academy was to undertake the training and development approach. You have asked, is it because the corruption was so deeply entrenched? Sometimes not necessarily that, but it's always good to create awareness and inform, so that the public officers in particular are aware of, let's say, the laws, because there are so many laws that help in the prevention and the fight against corruption. The procurement law, the finance law, there was the public officer law that has been repaired through the Conflict of Interest Act. There is the Ethics and Anti-Corruption law. So there are so many laws that the public officers and even the private sector need to be aware of. There is the bribery law, etc. So you have to create an understanding on about those about the legal framework that helps in the fight against corruption. Besides that, there are many other factors. I say there's what we call the psychology of corruption that looks at culture. It could be organizational culture, it could be societal norms, it could be, again, value system. So education is not just only on the legal framework, but what other factors contribute to the rise or the increase of corruption. Probably culture, the minute we begin to tolerate corruption and find it acceptable, that becomes a challenge.
What would you say, with that background and experience, having worked with the EACC,
Yes.
what would you say is our weakest link in the fight against corruption?
It's like you read my paper. I try to ask, what's the weakest link? But sometimes you cannot narrow to one point, to one aspect. There are many. Leadership is one. And leadership is, I look at leadership right from family to the civil society, to the religious organizations, to the public sector organizations, to the political leadership. So when I talk of leadership, it's across board, across all the spheres. Leadership was a weak link to some extent, in the sense that if the leadership does not provide necessary direction and live by the ethical principles that they ask the employees or the followers or the family to follow, there will be a breakdown. Because people take cue from leaders. Therefore, leaders must provide the necessary example. That's one of the weak links. But the other weak link could be the lack of collaboration and partnership. If each institution does their work independently, without collaboration, without partnering, without sharing, that can be a weakness. So at one point, I was in charge of the Secretariat of the Kenya Leadership Integrity Forum, which we would call CLIF. The Kenya Leadership Integrity Forum attempt was to try and bring all the stakeholders together. And we believed that partnership is the way of the future. That if we work in a collective manner, that we all create a national consciousness, then we'll be able to move this fight against corruption. And up to today, I would still say the same, that we need to work on collective action against corruption, that it's not just one institution. If it's left to one institution, it may not succeed.
You've talked about TACC, but there are also those people that are calling that it has become a toothless dog that cannot bite.
I wouldn't say that it's toothless. Having worked there for over 16 years, and before that I was working with them closely for 3 years, I wouldn't say it's a toothless dog. There's a lot of effort that is put. I would only call upon the members of public to also participate in the campaigns, to participate in reporting, to participate in reading even the reports and giving and voicing their concern. We say that one of the ways in which we can combat corruption is people voicing their concerns. Remember, there are many factors against the fight against corruption. Many people don't want to be arrested, neither do they want to be investigated. So definitely they'll fight and say that that one is weak. Nevertheless, that doesn't mean that more effort shouldn't be put in the fight.
Right.
Yes.
We've also seen about reports that come from the counties. Looks like we devolve corruption as well. So majority of people want to leave the national government to the counties.
That's unfortunate. If they're doing that in order to go and engage in corruption, that would be very unfortunate.
Because we've seen it right now. EACC are currently investigating 9 governors.
Yes.
So if you look at it, out of 47 counties, if you have 9 governors that are already under investigation, what does that tell you?
I would say that's very unfortunate because the purpose of devolving government services was very clear. It was to bring services closer to the people. It was also to get the involvement of the people. And that's why we have public participation. So the essence of devolution was very clear and a wonderful idea. It's unfortunate when it's said that corruption is devolving or is devolved. That's very unfortunate. And indeed, from the cases you have mentioned, that's a sign that corruption is getting to the devolved system, devolved unit into the counties. Very unfortunate. But I listened to the former Prime Minister, Raila Odinga, and he said it's not that corruption has been devolved to the county. Indeed, there is corruption in the county. And he identified the financial function, the finance function, and the procurement function as some of the areas in which it's devolved. And that's how I would say that it's unfortunate if that's happening, but again, effort needs to be put into the county level because so that we achieve the objective of devolution. So a lot more effort needs to go to the county. And I'm sure that's why the International Leadership University has come up with this Leadership and Governance Institute, and specifically the ethics and governance track of it, that will be able to partner with EACC and other like-minded bodies that we may be able together fight corruption, or not, I like putting it in a positive, promote integrity and promote ethics and ethical leadership. Yes.
Talking about promotion of integrity and ethical leadership, what about that ordinary Kenyan who is tired of broken promises from the leaders that they have put in place to serve them?
That's an issue of integrity, because one aspect of integrity is that you keep your promises. Even as a mother, even as a father, anytime you promise your child something, please ensure that you keep that promise, however small the promise is. So one aspect of integrity is keeping promises. In other words, keep your word. Now, Kenyans shouldn't be tired. I'm not saying because they should ask, what can I do? At individual level, what can they do? And I've said corruption begins also at the family level. And I believe if we worked hard at inculcating values at family level and socializing our children, and both in school and at home, and teaching values, I'm sure will make a difference. Such that when these young people grow into mature adults and they get into public service or in the private sector service or the civil society service, they'll live by that integrity that they were taught when they were young. Allow me to say that we worked very hard to ensure that matters, ethics, integrity mainstreamed into the curriculum. So if the schools would take that branch of ethics and integrity or values in the curriculum seriously, I'm sure we'll not look at the government only, we also look at what can we do.
Okay.
Yes.
Collectively.
Collectively.
Does
yes.
that then mean corruption thrives in silence? That if the ordinary citizen doesn't call and demand for integrity, then the corrupt will continue to be corrupt?
Yeah, that's why I kept on saying we need to voice. We need to voice. That's one approach in combating corruption.
But where do you voice to when the institutions that are supposed to oversight
yes.
and take action are equally corrupt?
The current talk on corruption, and you as a media station focusing on ethical leadership, it is because you have heard the voice. It doesn't have to be screaming, but it can be voice that is convincing, that is convicting. So I'm sure the fact that the government is acknowledging there's a problem, the fact that the media houses are taking it up and broadcasting it, they are saying that yes, we've heard the voice of the citizens. It can be the churches speaking about it in church as a sermon. It could be the civil society organizations taking certain aspects. Because each sector, when I talked of collective action, I meant that each sector civil society, private, public, takes certain aspects and runs with it. There are those that even the development partners, as it were in the past, and believe in that currently, it could be some funding the fight against corruption. It could be others doing the education. It could be others doing the broadcasting. It could be another sector doing the materials, such that there's message about, that's what I mean by voicing. There's message. Wherever you go, you hear that voice that let's promote integrity. Let's promote ethical leadership. Let's keep our promise. If we make a promise, let's live by that promise. Yes.
Do you think the message of integrity and fight against corruption in our Kenyan pulpits will gain traction?
I want to believe it will. And that's why during my Kenya Leadership Integrity Forum leadership, there was the church, and they were very strong. The religious sector, they were very strong. And this is because they have a ready platform. They have a ready platform where they can speak and voice integrity. And it doesn't have to be, it has to be done even in our day-to-day. How do we call ourselves? How do we do our work? Be trustworthy wherever you are working. That can be a voice of integrity. Do your work to the very best. That can be a voice of integrity. But they also have to live by what they say. Because saying is one thing, living what you say is another thing. So it is both speech and action.
And action.
They sync between the two.
All right. If someone is watching this program and is saying, Dr. Purity, how do I get to be part of the Leadership and Governance Institute at International Leadership University? How do they go about it?
Thank you very much. And I'm happy that you've asked that question, because we are beginning, and I'm grateful to the university that they asked me to lead the ethics and governance track of it. I would want them to come to us, to partner with us in creating awareness to their officers or to their staff, in training their staff, in us having a dialogue. It could be through the webinars that we have. It could be through the training workshops that we have. Some organizations have already called upon us that we may train their board members, very senior board, together with the executive management and then the staff. So that's what I would request the public to do. It could be the churches. We also belong to the church. The International Leadership University is a Christian university. A university whose motto, whose mission is to develop leaders of integrity for Africa. So I want to believe any organization that is interested in developing leaders of integrity, they can call us, and including the churches. We've seen that churches are squabbling. There are challenges of integrity even within the church, unfortunately. They can call on us, and we can work on a program for them.
Okay.
So we'll be happy to have you on board.
Asante sana. Thank you so much for your time, Daktari.
Thank you very much.
We hope that corruption will end in our generation.
I pray that we again join hands.
Yes.
The government alone will not make it. EACC alone will not make it. The government establishes an enabling framework. We are the ones to play in that enabling framework. Okay. So may we join hands and promote integrity in this country.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Asante sana for your time on Crosstalk and for the insights. And to our viewer who has been following on this conversation, the rallying call is let's collectively fight corruption. If you remain silent, then the corruption will thrive. So in your small space or in your sphere of influence, you can start to have these discussions around ethics, integrity, and good governance. And you can join and be part of institutions like International Leadership University and Dr. Purity, who are doing an amazing work, both in governance and, of course, private sector, to just make sure that at least we live a just society. And if you're a partner and you want us to continue to have conversations such as this, we do this by the support and generous contribution that we get from our listeners and viewers that for over 26 years have been keeping Jesus on the airwaves. This is the only way we can bring ethical conversations into our programming. You can be part of what Family Media is doing. 316 is our M-Pesa pay bill number. Account name is your mobile number. Let's keep Jesus on the airwaves.